Hey guys, so today I'm doing some work. Oh my goodness. Hey guys, so today I'm doing some work on the tractor. Are you done? Tractor needs a water pump. I was putting the loader on the other day. I was getting sprayed in the face with something and it turned out it was coolant. So I did a pressure test and it's coming out of the weeping hole down below here, which is basically there to inform you that you've got a failure the seal in your shaft. So that's what I've got, a failure. I've also got a new thermostat, putting in new gaskets. Let's get started. So here we are looking inside the engine cavity, and it looks like it's a fairly easy thing to change from the looks of it. It's really just a matter of taking things off. No special tools needed. This is where the thermostat sits. I have a sneaky suspicion that I don't have a thermostat or it's stuck open, but either way I'm going to go ahead and change that out, since it's got to come apart anyway, or at least I'm taking it apart, just to be sure. Loosen off the alternator to loosen off the belt, and we'll start taking off a few hoses and get this old leaky water pump off, because this tractor is going to be needed very shortly to till some land for us. So I guess the first thing I'm going to do here is take off a few hose clamps. This thermostat housing has 3 hoses connected to it. These hoses might be a little bit tough to get off. Looks like they've been on there for a long time. It's funny, this thermostat housing just floats amongst the 3 hoses. That's the only thing that holds it in place. I do have a ground wire on this, which is a very weird spot to ground it because it doesn't touch any other metal. Just gonna pop this bolt out here quickly to take this ground off that doesn't seem to be grounding anything. Put you in the sun here for a second, but my suspicions were right. The thermostat is stuck open, so that's good. I'm glad I got one. We'll go ahead and change that in a few minutes. Just gonna pop my upper hose off here. I'm just gonna grab a wrench here, looks like 1.1/8 or something, and get this metal bypass line off of the water pump. The water pump itself is super easy to change. There's only 4 bolts, but I didn't realize that it went so deep into the shroud. It's not as easy as I thought, but it's still not too bad. Just a bit of time. If your tractor has one of these bypass lines on it, it's an 1.16" wrench. That broke free better than I thought. Space is a little bit limited in here. I can't complain because I've surely worked with less. Okay, so that's undone. Really, if it wasn't for the fan on the front of the water pump, it'd be pretty much ready to come out. Just unbolt it. Now we got to try and get this radiator out. Okay, so I'll show you guys what took the longest here. Is on the bottom of this radiator, I'm gonna have to get a light. So what holds this radiator in place is I found on the bottom rad mount right here. There's actually a stud with a nut on the bottom, and it eventually will just slide back once you loosen the nut. But this nut wasn't too bad to get to. The other one was pretty hard. I didn't even bother to record it because there just would have been too much swearing and editing and whatnot. So that's how we get the radiator pushed back. So we're gonna try and push it back, see if we can get enough room. If not, we'll just take it out. Okay, we're back up top. I don't think I have enough room to move this out still. This power steering line's in the way. To get it back further, actually it's not in the way anymore, but it's still not enough. So take this boot off, probably take this pipe off, and hope that does it. So if we take a look right here, I've tried to push the radiator back to get more room, and now it's hitting the power steering bracket. Change of plans. I was going to remove this bracket here to move the power steering fluid reservoir back so I could push the rad back further because it's hitting the bracket right here. But it turns out that this bracket connects to part of the frame that wraps around the front of the tractor and whatnot, and that just seems like a lot of extra work that I don't want to do. So when I had a look in here, although it's super tight, I can actually get to the bolts that hold the fan on. So it's going to take me quite a while because room's limited. If I could fit an air ratchet in there, that'd be pretty sweet. But luckily, through the power of editing for you, it's going to be about 20 seconds. So I'm going to get started. So that went a lot quicker than I expected. I forgot I had this ratchet here, and like you can see how big it is. It's just about as long as my finger. I bought this to take valve covers off a Ford diesel, and that's the only time I've ever used it. And now this came in so handy to squeeze between the rad and the fan, take the 4 bolts out. Only took about 5 minutes. I got one more bolt to unscrew. There we go. And just fell. Here's the bolts. Looks like they're about 2.5 inches long. Our fan fell off. That's all there is to that. 4 bolts. There's our pulley. Oh yeah, this water pump's got play in the shaft as well. We dropped a spacer. Spacer puck. Now we can go ahead and unbolt our water pump, and there should be plenty of room there to take it out. I just have to undo the lower rad hose on the bottom of the water pump, and that should be it. Okay, I've got my lower rad hose disconnected. I don't really preach safety too much, but in this case, whenever you're working with antifreeze, make sure you contain it. I mean, it's not the environment. I mean, it is, it isn't, but it's actually the pets. As you can hear in the background, there's a lot of animals around here and dogs, and they find coolant very attractive. They'll drink it, and it will, unfortunately, it'll shut down their body. It'll be very hard on the kidneys and liver. And then if they can manage to save your dog from it, you're pretty lucky. So just contain it or clean it up. Now I've just got 4 more bolts to take off. And I tried a 5/8 socket, and that was a little bit too loose. So I put a 17 on there, and that's a lot better. I could use air tools on this, make it a lot faster, but I just kind of like to use the hand tools because everybody's got these. So it just gives you an idea of what you could do yourself. I believe this is a job you can do yourself. Just need time. That's it, nothing special. Okay, so I've got my 4 bolts out. There she is. Sure turns pretty freely compared to the new one. Here's our 2 pumps. They do look similar, which is good. The only thing I have to do is pop out this fitting. This is a well, I'm not really sure if it's a bypass, but it does go to the heater in the cab. Take this plug out. Nothing on the bottom. Of course, you can see the 4 bolts that I took out. And we have to take this pulley off. We do have our gasket. I did clean up the face of the tractor already, so the gasket has a good mounting surface. I may even put a bit of silicone just to be safe, because this is not something I want to do again. So let's swap the pulley and swap this plug out. Let's see if we can get this pulley off. Pulley's off. Excellent. So this nut on the side is 1 1/16. There we go. Transfer that to the new pump. This is no longer needed. Here's our new pump. This looks bigger than 1 1/16. I don't even think I could get a socket on there anyway. Alright, I'm just going to use an adjustable. I'll bring this into the garage and pop it out quickly. Luckily that plug wasn't in there too tight. So we'll thread in this fitting. I put a little bit of thread sealant in there. It's actually airplane grade. Not sure who it's made by, but just putting a little sealant on the threads just to be safe. Probably use Teflon tape as well. Alright, that's installed. Now what I'm going to do, which is completely up to you if you want to do this, but I'm going to put a little thin layer of silicone all around the face of this water pump. Now the face does look pretty smooth, so I'm pretty certain there wouldn't be a sealing problem with the gasket, but this will help take out any imperfections, seal any imperfections between the face and the gasket. And also this is going to hold the gasket onto the water pump while I set this back inside the tractor. That looks good. I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this outer side. Chances are the face of the engine block isn't as smooth as the new water pump. So this is definitely going to help seal it. Okay, looks good to me. Nice thin layer. So we'll set this back inside, get it installed. Everything's tightened up on the water pump, got my 4 bolts in. Now when you take this bypass hose off, if you have it on yours, there's a little metal washer that goes in between. So don't forget to put that in. Or watch for it when it falls out. Alright, that's tight. This one One last thing to do. Put the lower rad hose on now, because that's probably the toughest thing to reach at this point. Don't forget to tighten up the clamp. Now, I suppose the toughest thing we need to do is put our fan shroud and pulley back on. We'll slide our pulley in. Now the bad part about this is that we can't really see where the bolt holes are. So I'm going to spin this, the water pump itself, so the bolt hole points towards the top. And then I'll point this pulley towards the top so that at least I know I'm within half an inch, maybe quarter inch. We'll slide our belt over. Can't forget to do that, because if we don't do it now, it's pretty much impossible later. So you can see on our fan, this side is the side the bolts go through. This is the back side, and this puck has a little lip on it right here, and that will push inside the fan. And it's actually a pretty tight fit, so that'll hold it there while you put it back down inside. I just got the fan shroud and radiator mounted back in. So now we're going to move on to the thermostat quickly. Just going to pull this apart. So can't really show you how the thermostat was stuck open because it was so stuck in there. I actually broke it getting it out. No big deal. Let's just go ahead and jam the new one in. Get this thing finished up. Just for the sake of it, while it's apart, the thermostat sits in place like this. There's a bit of a groove right here where the face will sit in, and that'll hold it. Sometimes they can go in. See, this one doesn't work, so that you can't screw it up. So it just sits in there like that. It doesn't matter which way you put it. I'll go through our gasket in, put this back together, put it inside the tractor. Now we're getting pretty close to the end. Going to install our thermostat housing, which we just put the thermostat inside. Hook up our coolant temperature sensor. Push that down in there. Okay, now I'm just going to bolt this intake tubing back on, find a good chassis for this ground strap to go on. I assume that's what it is, without tracing it back too far. Looks like it goes to the back of the alternator. And that'll pretty much be it. I can't finish this job today because I don't have coolant, and I don't believe I'll be going to town. But that's all there is to changing your water pump and thermostat. I'm just going to end it here. You can figure out the rest. I'm already dreading the editing I have to do for this video. So I really hope this helps somebody out. Change the water pump on their Zetor. I appreciate you watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.